Hey everyone, welcome to the Friday Night Bee Chat. Well, it's still clear and sunny here as far as the past week, and we're supposed to get some rain. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link and let people in. There's the link. This poster pinned to the top. Anybody wants to join, you can join. Let me see if I got. Yeah, we got everything turned off on the other thing. There's Mr. Bob.
I'm always like the first one.
Well, it's always good to have somebody to talk to. There's Mark Miller and Tar Hill, Randy, beekeeper, and Todd from out there in California, and Steve Hunter, and J&DS Bees, and Brad. You got the Cajun Homestead there. Had some pretty good videos there. I love that there shotgun swarm catch.
I saw it. Well, I think, Charlie, and we talked about this earlier, but people like Mark Miller and people that graft, if you graft and you make queens, it's like there's a queen shortage going on right now. Nobody can get queens. Even here, the guy that I was buying them from wholesale last year to resell, they said they're sold out for the next 2 months. And by that time, they won't be in South Carolina anymore. They're going to be up in New York. So if you graft queens and can get them mated, or you could sell every one you got if you got an outlet, right? If you got...
Queens are always in demand. I've already gotten a call actually 2 weeks ago before I even thought about, it was cold. And I said, no, there's, it's too early for where I live. And, the only places at that time was down in deep South, below, even south of you.
And they don't even, I don't think anybody, they can't keep up, because I don't know if it was that cold snap that we just had or what, but everybody's behind. And I talked to James earlier. He's going through a heck of a problem right now. So I'll be curious to see how he gets that ironed out.
I know he actually makes his own queens, but it's still snow up there and the weather sucks up there.
He does make his own queens for his own use, beekeeper, right? But his nukes, he buys queens because they can't make them that early up in Canada, right? So the only way they can sell nukes early enough is to buy queens and add them to their splits. So the problem is, and I don't know, it's his business, so I probably shouldn't even say anything about it, honestly. But long story short, he ordered some queens through a beekeeping company, right? Beekeeping supply company. And the queens were overnighted from this country to the beekeeping supply place. But then the beekeeping supply company put them on basically like a FedEx truck or something like that, regular ground, right? And they're in Canada. It's still cold. So they don't have heating and air and all that in there. So the 100 queens he ordered could be DOA, right? Dead on arrival. So, and it's not like you can just get those. So it was a mistake at the beekeeping supply company. And now he's got 100 splits, right? And people will say, well, you could just put eggs and make queens. Well, you can, but you don't have drones. They don't have the drone population to mate right now. So that's the issue right there. So, so hopefully he gets that figured out. I made a couple calls to people down here. That's how I found out they don't have any. They don't have any queens down here either, And then Canada's got specific rules about having to be tested for non-Africanized genes and stuff like that, which I don't even know how you do that. How do you test a queen bee's genetics to tell if it's got any Africanized genes?
I have no idea.
And then how long does that take? What's that process? Do I have to send them an extra queen out of the same batch so they can test it and say, yep, there's no Africanized genes? I don't know. But there's like a whole documentation and everything that you got to go through. So hopefully they get that figured out.
Yeah, we got Robin Hood here. He had a swarm 40 feet up.
Yeah,
single brood didn't quite work for him. Well, I will have to say that I've talked to some other folks that even with single brood chamber management, you still have swarms.
Well, I don't get very many swarms early. If I get a swarm, it's usually after the honey flow, right? Small swarms. And part of that is, geographic location. Are you able to stay out in front of the bees, right? And just be able to manage them. It is called single brood chamber management. So you have to, it's definitely a more hands-on management practice, Like I did single nuke management today because my nukes that I had in the box for 2 weeks are getting very packed, right? So what did I do? I left the queen, pulled brood out, made a split off the nuke, basically. And, let them regrow themselves out. So
yeah, this week I've sold, between last week and this week I've sold 8 nukes. And I've got a bunch of nukes out there that are queenless, and some of them has some queen cells that I actually harvested from a friend of mine's apiary. And some of them just have eggs in there. Hopefully they'll make their own for right now until I get a little more. Hey, Randy. Till I get a little bit more, things slow down for me. I'll put it to you that way. I got one more nuke I got to sell that I know of. Got to find the queens and stuff. Pennsylvania beekeeper, where are you at and about in Pennsylvania? Are you over here around Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or are you over there around Pittsburgh? Hey, Lee, Kodiak Farms.
Ryan's got a question here. Ryan Peabody.
Where at?
Says Southern Maryland beekeeper, around 25 to 30 production hives. My question, guys, is about adding supers. Do you all prefer to under supering or over supering? Basically is the question, right? Do you all prefer under supering or place drawn comb super on top of boxes filling with nectar?
Well, it's like I asked Brad up there in Canada. It's got 150 plus hives. And he says, if you're under supering, then you're touching 25 to 30 production hive. You're touching the 30 supers to remove them and put them underneath. And then when you go back, you got to take those supers off the top to see whether the one on the bottom is full. So not only you're moving off, let's say if you got 2 supers and you have to pull the tops off to see what the bottoms is. I mean, I've been under supering myself for quite a while. I mean, but I don't have 30 production hives right now. So depends how much work you want to do.
Randy said he caught a swarm on my lure. Whoop, whoop. I got a swarm yesterday, a small one, but it was not in a trap. I went and picked one out of it was a boat factory where they fiberglass boats, make fiberglass boats. And the mold for like the center console was outside, and they had polished it, getting it ready to go into the booth or to make a mold out of it. And a swarm landed on it. So they called me up and I went and got it. And I sprayed my lure in there and then caught the queen And the guy thought that was the most amazing thing ever, that I just reached down there and grabbed the queen. I'm like, yeah, here she is. Well, how do you know that's the queen? Yeah, she's longer, and you just explained to him, put her down right into the colony.
Get back to the under supering thing, Randy or Ryan, is that it's up to you. I mean,
do the bees care? I don't think so.
I don't know. One thing I went and I did a real quick spot check one evening this week on my hives, and if it was a two honey supers on, they had filled the top super of honey with nectar, not capped honey. And the bottom super that's drawn wax, both of them were drawn wax, next to the queen excluder, was still empty. So go figure. I would think that they would fill directly above the queen excluder, but they didn't.
So today I took a spray bottle out. When I put a super on, I sprayed the frames with some 1-to-1 and then just put it on to try to get them to come up and start cleaning it. And then they're like, oh, okay, we got more room. That was kind of the thought behind it.
Yeah. Dan Weaver up there in Pennsylvania there, he's just putting supers on. I put mine on about 3 weeks ago. Usually it's like right around the last week of March. And that's about the time the maple trees here bloom. They start to bloom, get red. And the problem we had this year is yes, the maple trees started to bloom a little bit. The blossoms did, and then it was cold weather, so there wasn't any bee flight. So, but then in the meantime, like I say, I've gotten at least one super of nectar full, and I had one. I was doing some experimentation where I said, okay, I got two honey supers. Top super is full of nectar. So I reversed it to see what would happen, whether or not they would come up and fill. We got Mark out in the apron. Hey, Mark.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
I just got in. And it's about to get dark on me.
You going to get into some hives, are you?
Yeah, we're going to check it out. I'm going to let y'all see how my results are.
All right, here we go.
Well, that looks good to me right now.
Can you see?
Yeah, I blew it up as close as much up, back up.
We got live beekeeping on a live stream. Go figure.
I hope it's good.
All right, we got ourselves a cell builder here coming up. Here we go.
First graft?
First graft of the year.
This is the second, actually.
Second graft. All right, easy now. Don't break the cells.
They got good royal jelly.
And you got 2 misses.
2 misses.
And they're looking good from here, I can tell you that much.
Good royal jelly. I like that. I got about 2 misses.
You got
3
cells up on the top bar?
No, it's empty.
Okay. Now,
3 misses.
Mark, you like putting your bars on the lower position? Does better for you?
If it's a double deep.
Okay.
If it's just a single, I like to put them on top.
Now, how do you set up your double deep? You just take the queen out and give them a bar?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you got to go through and get your queen cells out. That looks pretty good. I'm proud of that one.
How many you got set up like that, Mark?
I've just got one right now. I did these Tuesday. In fact, I believe I told you I did them Tuesday, didn't I?
Yeah, you probably did. I'm getting old. I forget things.
It's about to get dark, so I'm gonna go in. That's what I wanted to check.
So are they capped, Mark?
No, they're not capped yet.
Okay. Hey,
That's
Russell.
good. So I got about 20. So there was 32, 3 misses. That's 29 out of 32. Ain't bad.
Nah, that's
that
about
ain't bad at all.
90-some%. The way
Yeah.
my math goes.
Woo.
All right.
You got a long haul from your bee yard.
Yes, sir. Get in the shop here.
I think I'm getting ready to set a cell builder back up.
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah, I
I
would
got
do
this.
that, Bob. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out there and hopefully, if Saturday doesn't rain or Sunday, I am going to get out there and reevaluate things. And I got to find some really nice grafting material. All right, I'm going to back you back down.
Well, I've got everything back down to 10 frame colonies. I've only got, as far as nukes, I've got the swarm I caught yesterday, and then a nuke that I split to today, right? So those are the only two that aren't in pro nukes, but everything else is in single 10 frame deeps at least. And I'm trying to get those to build that box out, right? They need to build that single out before I put anything else on them. So,
Yeah.
What a day.
sound
Mark,
like
what are you using? A cam or your phone for your camera?
might have
He's,
lost live action TV on Chuck. Yeah, that's what we should. It should be like live PD. We should just be live BTV, where we got one guy that's in the studio that flips the people in their bee yards working their bees and showing what they're doing.
that would be
But
pretty cool.
We'd have to do it on like a Saturday afternoon or something where people could
Yeah, because it's dark here now, and he's out in he's close to Kentucky on the western side of Nashville, so he's an hour ahead of me, so I guess it would still be 7:00, 7:30, getting close to dark.
So, speaking of the honey supering, we were talking about that and my situation with the frames. So how to maximize your honey with limited frames, right? So, and I've got these singles that are just building up to where hopefully when the main part of the flow hits, I can at least my goal is to get one box of honey off of them. If I can fill their brood chamber out and get one box of honey, that's good, right? So, and if that happens, I should be, what do we figure, around 1,500 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Which would be a bumper crop for me, the most honey I've ever made. But with that being said, I'm short frames and can't get the frames local, so I'm gonna have to order some. But
all I can say is you're gonna have, yes, definitely you're gonna have to go out and do your shopping, but of course there's shipping involved. I mean, you're gonna have to call Acorn, find out what their situation is. You were talking about Pierce being dealership versus retail. Is there, even with dealership pricing and you got to pay your shipping, is it cheaper than buying just retail with quote free shipping?
Yeah, well, with Man Lake, no. Their frames are much higher, right? So,
well, I mean, they all put that stuff in. They all put it in the price of the frame. They figured it out in.
Yeah, Dan. So that's what I was. That's what we were talking about doing. So,
yeah, Dan, he's exactly, that's what I'm going to do this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Bob to do that. I mean, that way you're saving on having to buy extra equipment. you're saving on work factor that last year, prior to that last year, I would pull all money off at the end of June, 1st of July, somewhere in that. And
Mhm.
here I've got 30 plus boxes, and I'm like every day, after work or whatever, trying to do at least so many boxes of honey. And then by the time you get at the end, you might have a wax moth problem, or you might have a beetle problem or something like that. So last year, I would only pull 4 to 6 boxes, enough that I knew I could get done within 3 days,
Right.
and do it that way. And then this year, I'm going to even do better, where when I find enough honey capped to do at least one 18 frame extractor is what I'm running right now, then I'll pull that and extract and then put them wet supers back on there, because that'll attract them bees right up there
So, so yeah,
to do
I'm
it.
I'm trying to take into consideration the strengths of some colonies, right? Some of my colonies are strong enough; they've already got 2 supers on them, where they've been filling them and filling them and filling them, right? So
Hey, Len.
my idea is that when I take them out, when I take them off of those colonies, instead of giving the strong colonies the ones that have the drawn comb in them,
Brian, you're going to be there all night.
I was going to take those drawn combs and give them to the weak colonies that are just getting strong enough to start storing, right? So now they're not having to build that comb, and use my big hives that have more power to draw wax and store, and try to equalize it a little bit like that. So hopefully it allows my weaker colonies to produce more honey, and maybe slows down the stronger colonies a little bit from putting as much honey in there. But I need that drawn comb. And
yeah, it's going to take some of your honey crop away, but you're going to, there's Mark. You got to have drawn comb. So that's part of it. You just have to process, just same thing as James up in Alberta, Canada. He's expanding and he needs more comb. And it's a
constant cycle
until you kind of get so many years involved into it and all that.
Yeah, I still ain't learned how to get enough drawn gone yet. It's like you don't ever have enough.
And then you sell nukes, and give away 5 every time you do it.
Yeah.
Like, son of a gun.
And that's the thing. That's the downside of it. I mean, the bees are easy. It's the wax comb that you're selling out there with them.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So, I mean, sometimes I don't know whether nukes sales they're quick money, but look at the amount of comb that you need to replace.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I would say if you had a bunch of old comb that you needed to cycle out.
Here, Dan says, checkerboard.
Yeah, what I had last year when I checkerboarded is I had real fat on one side, and then they was real shallow on the other, where they weren't drawing them out.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
so,
I have seen that.
And truth be told, I've got in my refrigerator, I probably got a damn 10 medium frames full of honey that I could extract out right now that have been sitting in my refrigerator. So, I mean, but my great wall of boxes is starting to diminish, right? There's not as many over there. So I can start seeing what I got a little bit better. And I've probably got, I've got 7 deeps in my kitchen with freshly waxed foundation in there, right? That I've just done. And and that's just my deeps. So I've got another probably 35 or frames in the box in there that I could use as well for deeps. But the mediums, I've got, what did we figure? I need another 300 frames, Charlie, another 300 medium frames.
Yeah, at least. Now, Lynn, did you put your honey super on top of your one deep box? I think is what you did. Raider more. I don't
Who you
have.
talk-
Yeah, Lynn here. That's this Lynn, friend of mine. She lives in Baltimore area. She did a single brood chamber management thing. Checking it out. They're storing nectar. Decided today.
I think the single brood chamber management really is only in effect until the honey flow starts, and then over the winter, right? Because you're going to stack boxes and stack boxes and stack boxes.
Well, the thing about single brood chamber management is you got your deep, or you got your two mediums, your queen excluder.
He caught himself.
And then you're going to stack, like I had that first time on that video that I put out here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to get some more videos out. It's just been, the weather is not, the weekend is like this weekend is supposed to be bad. Takes time to make them videos. I'll put it to you that way. But, anyway, when I had bees from the bottom board to the top, you got to remember, I'm taking a super brood comb away, and they were in 3 boxes to begin with. So I put a honey super on, plus another super on top of that to actually give them some more space to get them up out of that brood chamber.
Are they moving up there?
Oh yeah. I mean, shoot, you can go back a half hour later and they were up banging on the top of the lid. And I had another one out there. It was this week when I was kind of going through them quickly just to check not so much, not a deep dive, just checking honey supers. And I had one there that had, I think it was only one honey super on there. And there was about an inch worth of bees on the inner cover, stuck to the inner cover when I raised them up. And it was a sea of bees across the honey super. I said, okay. I went right back to the house and grabbed, I found 2 of them like that. Found 2 more honey supers. I just threw another honey super on top. The main theory behind all this thing is to get the bee congestion out of the brood box, get them up into the honey supers. Some people might think, well, they're going to be eating the honey. No, they're when they bring honey into a hive, they pass it on from bee to bee to bee to bee. And that's how the honey is transformed into
from nectar
to honey because of the enzymes in each bee's honey crop gut. And so they're up there storing and everything. But what I want to do is I want to check on this. It is a little bit different. Last year and the year before, I would go into the brood chamber and I would take half the cat brood out and move it around. Now, there's some hives out there right now that need some boosting. And I see a lot of these people like Ian, and they're always pulling a nuke off, but you got to remember that their honey season is different than ours. It's later in this, where ours is right. Honey season for us here in Maryland is April, May, and June. And that's right where swarm season is too. And you have to it's kind of a double sword. So, above a queen excluder, you have to draw the supers above the queen excluder. Yeah, I have. I threw some foundation on there, just a full box of 10 frames of foundation, and they drew it out.
Above the queen excluder?
Yeah. Sometimes you might leave it off for a while and they start drawing it out. If she doesn't get up there, then put the queen excluder on. It kind of depends on how much flow, I guess, there is. But anyway, it's relieving the pressure. That's what the whole idea is behind it. And and I calculated, like I was saying about the figures mathematically, these guys are like that one guy up there in Canada years ago. He came up to the fact that I don't have the papers. I thought I did right in front of me. Or basically 2 mediums is 103,000 cells for her to lay in. And here it is. So I actually have more room than a deep. So you got the deep frames. You should have somewhere around 76,000 cells. And by the time you deduct how much she lays and the cells left over for the pollen and honey and drones and stuff, you should have 17,000 cells left over. Looks like we got competition tonight coming on.
Yeah, came in.
So in a medium box, I have 103,000 cells for her to lay in, and I have over 30,000 cells left over, supposedly extra, and that's after pollen, honey, and drones that would take up. I gave 50%. So, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna go. I want to get into these hives. I want to go back into my honey hives that are behind me, and go down in the brood chamber and then look at the brood. How much brood you got? Is there any queen cells? Things like that. And what do we got coming up here? What's this?
So remember we were talking. This looks identical to that Lyson uncapping machine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's the Chinese version of it, right? Which is probably where a lot of these companies get and just brand it on their own anyway. But I'm strongly considering buying this from this company. So
you already got one in capping machine. You ain't used it yet.
I've used it, but the price on that thing compared to it's $2,500.
What it costs to ship it?
That's a good question. I have to contact China to figure it out, but it's got casters on it, so it rolls.
Hey Tim, Ghana.
I've been thinking about it because to buy the licensed version of that is like $6,000.
Yeah. Why don't you buy that, Bob, and tell me how good it is?
Hey, I might have to buy it and then like start selling it. I'll just be competing against license in the States.
There you go.
But that's, I mean, $3,000 savings worth the try. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff at these companies is being purchased from the same spot.
There you go, Bob.
No, if I get that, I'm not. But I mean, like even the stuff I see from Hilco that says like 304 stainless, like, you know, you can buy it from Alibaba, the same exact thing. The only difference is the color is changed, right? And if you're buying enough of them, you can probably have them painted any color you want to, right?
Hey, look at here. We got Brian rolling in here. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you in here for quite a long time.
But they got the 24 frame extractor that looks like that Mini Max for $700. So even if you had to pay shipping on it, a few $100, right? You're at $1,000. You know, so
come on into the chat, Brian, if you like.
You could buy two of them for what you had to pay for American made.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. If you read that website, it says assembled and designed in America. It does not say it is made in America. So what is assembly of an extractor? I put on 3 legs, 6 bolts. That's assembly. So I think you got to kind of read the fine line on that stuff, but yeah,
Brian said he's working on his quail hutch and putting down some mulch. Yeah, Brian, you missed Mark's hive inspection live at his cell builder. How much? What was it? 29 out of 30?
29 out of 32.
29 out of 32 cells accepted.
That's almost like Bob-esque numbers right there. You
Who?
keep practicing, Mark. You'll be just as good as me before long.
I hear you, buddy.
Hell, I only did 28 cells all the rounds that I did. So you already got me beat by one.
Well, my first round sucked. I got what? 33 out of 60, 36 out of 60, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, this next one was a little better.
See, you see that? You see what Castle's put on there? Bob is onto something. Hilco parts are ordered overseas and assembled at his place. So there you go.
And all.
So yes,
Mark, that's great.
Fine line.
Hey,
Thank you, Brian.
Tim and Gunline. Can you give us a report on Hannah and how she getting
she's
better?
Doing good now. Matter of fact, I believe their package came. Matter of fact, I know it did because I got the notification it got.
That's good. Yeah, we did a great y'all did a great job of
the fundraiser
on your, I guess was it Lee's channel, your channel? Anyway, you're Lee and Bob.
It was on our stream. On my stream. It was on my channel, wasn't it? Because we ordered it last week. They got it this week.
That's good.
So, and now when YouTube decides to pay me all that money y'all donated, that'd be great. That'd be great.
There you go. Frame jigs.
Frame jigs are, yeah. Well, that's funny because we had a big I had a big conversation with my man up there, and about the swarm lure, and he asked me, well, if I keep selling it at the price I'm selling it at, are you going to sell to me again? I said, probably not. I'm selling it at what I'm telling them they got to sell it for, right? So it's like, that's not the goal. We want to build a brand, not whore the brand out. So, and, so we'll see how it goes. But
so how many cells did you get on your first round of grafting, Mark?
I think it was 33 out of 60 or 36 out of 60, something like that. It's a little over 50%. Wasn't that great, but it gets better. You just got to be patient,
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying when I was trying to learn. It wasn't so much the actual grafting. It's having everything else set up right?
Yeah.
That's the
getting that cell builder, populated, and then finding good grafting material. Actually, something that's got jelly. I looked in some of my hives this week, and it just there's the jelly that I've seen good, and the stuff is out there now is very bad.
Well, I'm going to tell you that license colony that I was grafting in, and then took one of the mated queens that came back and gave it back to them. They're kicking ass. They're in 10 frames. Matter of fact, they're in 10 frames. I put an excluder on them and put a drawn super on them for them to start working in.
What do you use, Mark?
I use the Chinese grafting tool, the cheap one with bamboo.
Okay.
But I've ordered the new Pierce. The Pierce one should be here Wednesday.
Yeah, we had a discussion about that.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
You got one there, B-Lot. All right, so what is it? You press it down to graft, or you press it to release?
So you press it and it comes out.
I can't, it's not focusing.
Well, the thing is, you can't. Let me see if I can. So you press it and it comes out. So then you got to hold it until you put it into the cup. And then once it's in the cup, then you release it and it lets it off.
Yeah, you release and come up all at the same time. It's all one movement.
As compared to the Chinese grafting tool, where you scoop it, it's already out, right? And then Well, this one's stuck, but then you slide it off with the bamboo, right? So it's just the opposite. So it's you push it in on the master grafter, and it brings the little tongue out underneath the larva, and then you hold it and release it to let the cell out. And yes, I got blue paint on my nails.
Yeah. Reason why I like the bamboo is the little plastic ones up there where your finger is, it wants to bend and get out of shape. I don't care for the bamboo, don't bend, it's straight.
And this, I mean, that tongue is metal, right? So this is pretty, even the little piece, it's not flexible like the one on the Chinese grafting tool. It's pretty stiff piece of wire. So it'd be neat,
all right,
to try.
Yeah, Tim's going to put out a video about, the things that they received from the benefit last weekend. That'll be really nice.
And when you buy it, you get an extra tongue. So,
well, let me know how that is, because I don't know. I like my I like my Chinese grafting tool that I do.
I think it's about what you get used to, what you program yourself to get used to. Then that's what you want to use. Well,
it's like Brad said, the way that's designed, you can see down in that cell better. Your hand's not in the way, and you have problems with that.
Yeah, I can't see with the Chinese tool. I can't see down.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of like, okay, there it is, and I went, I go down, and the tongue goes across, hits the other one,
and then you bring it straight up,
and I just bring it straight up.
And as long as you don't roll that larva on the side of the cell, you're good.
See, that's where I had problems with that first builder. I didn't time my queen out, and the frame that I needed was newer wax, because all the rest of them they weren't the right age, right? So I went in and tried it, and it's just too soft. That was a lot of my trouble right there.
And if it's old comb, then you can't see the larva down in the damn cell.
Yeah, well, that old cone, you just pop it down in there and bring it back up, no problem. But that soft cone, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I don't know. I got that frame cage like Tim Huff has down in Florida. I want to be able to put an empty comb on that and put her in there. I actually put it in the hive, let the bees get on it, and then take it and put it in that. Well, actually, I guess if she's on it, you just put it in the hive like that with that cage thing, and see if that doesn't, you time it out. And the way I talked to Tim, through the chat, and from basically what I seen was he left that queen in there for 3 days and all.
Oh, Charlie, like if you have a hive that ready to swarm on you or whatever, and that pattern is pretty much all hatched out and it's empty, but it's still got honey and pollen up here, that's the frame you want to put in there. Don't put a full empty cone in there. Put one that they've already pretty much hatched out and polished, ready to go. You'll find that like in one that's swarmed. You know what I'm saying? Where they've hatched out. That's what you want, instead of just an empty cone because it has no honey or nothing in it, right?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that way. So if you have a little bit of a rainbow capped honey, or not capped honey, but
it smells like brood, right?
It's brood. Ready to go. Yeah, it's ready to lay.
Cat brood, it's ready for her to go in there and lay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if it's just an empty cone, they got to clean it out. They got to get it ready, So,
right.
I ain't saying she won't lay in it, but it won't be as good.
Yeah, it's a lot of little tips and tricks and whatever.
I'm 10 colonies away from sideliner by the definition.
What's the definition?
I think 50, right? Isn't it 50 what they consider sideliner at that point?
I disagree with that. I look at it
50
this way.
hives can work you to death. If you work them hard, it'll work you to death.
Well, I got mine right now. I've only got about 3 that I really have to worry about. The rest of them, I know they're just building out in their 10 framer, right? So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, I went from 15 to 40 since in the last month. So that ain't bad. Of course, the 28 queens. And, of course, not. Most of those did come back, though. I would say if I went from 15, well, I'll say 17. We'll say 17 to 40. That means that 5 queens didn't make it back out of 28.
Yeah.
That's still a pretty good percentage this time of year,
That was early too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty early.
Yeah.
I mean, I grafted those. The last graft I did was on the 20th of last month, so 3 weeks ago. So, and they're laying. I mean, I was so amazed when I started switching that starter finisher that I put the mated queen in over to the 10 frame box. I mean, you know how when you got a plastic foundation or frame, they'll draw the comb out, but then the bottom corners are like the last little piece they put in. And there was eggs and larvae all the way out to the end. It's like, hey, I don't have anywhere else to lay, and they were just going crazy. So happy with that for sure. Now,
have y'all got very much nectar coming in, Bob?
So I've got so much comb that had to be drawn out. I put out some feed, but I'm not putting out feed every day like I was like in the fall. I'm only doing it like once every 3 days.
Hey, Jeff.
So the last time I put it out, they crushed it. So, but down the road, my mentor told me today, we must have a little flow coming on because I got this swarm out of this colony and they had some honey, out of a swarm trap, and they had some honey in there. So there's some coming from somewhere, not a lot. I mean, we got crimson clover, but the county's doing everything they can to mow all that down. And we're starting to get some dandelions starting to bloom and stuff like that. So
yeah,
we're right at that edge.
Yeah.
We started with I'm starting to notice a lot of dandelions here, just starting. And I think that's because this was the first week that we actually had 70 and some 80-degree days.
It's still a little dry here.
It's dry here, definitely dry. And that was one of the big talks that we had at our meeting this past Wednesday night, is that our bees have been mean as you know what. I mean, they are mean. They were mean here up on the internet. I was reading up in Chester, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour and a half away. They were mean up there, biting, stinging folks, not even in the area of the apiary type of thing.
It's the weather, Charlie.
And then
weather.
The one gal here, she in our club, she lives in at Havre de Grace, which is close to the water. It's about 45 minutes from here, depending on traffic. It's not really that far away, but same thing there. She got into her long hive and they were boiling out of there at her. She closed it all up. Then she heard the neighbor, 200 or 300,
I think when there's a little bit of dirt, they get really defensive.
Oh yeah. They were just mean as all get out.
Hey,
and
you want to watch somebody's going to make their live stream debut. You were talking about beekeepers and cats. Look at this fat puss here. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, now Lynn says the same thing over in Baltimore County. He got stung 3 times this week, Yeah, just by walking by or whatever.
I had one fly out in the middle of the yard and sting me on the back of my hand when I was holding my cell phone. on speaker.
Yeah, you know,
Zap.
Blaine, I got my package, got my winnings. I won the entrance reducers, or the thing that he made up. It's pretty cool looking. I hadn't
You
put them
seen
on
how
yet.
mean my bees are. You seen how mean they are.
Yeah.
Well, my bees normally are very nice, just like yours.
Yeah.
Very calm, and like, what do you want, type of attitude.
It's been the weather, Charlie. Mine were like that earlier, and it's kind
Really?
of planed out now. It's 70s and 80s, 50s and 60s at night. It's planed out. We ain't had no storms. It makes a big difference. They can actually get out and get some pollen, a little nectar here and there.
Yeah, well, they're bringing in stuff. I was wondering whether I've been working the nukes, like I say, I've been selling them, and my nukes are like 5/5. So there's five frames with bees and a queen going out, and then there's another nuke down there that doesn't have a queen. So I'm figuring maybe because they're queenless, then they're going to get agitated and get really crazy and all that. But these bees are just, they just want to come up in your face all the time for some reason, so.
Yeah, I'm feeding less than 1-to-1 right now when I put it out.
I don't know. Like I say, I've been trying to work them in the evenings, it's like you only have a few hours and you're going through them like crazy fast, trying to get stuff done. And it was like yesterday, I got out there right out from work and I had one queen sequestered in one box with a paint, and I had to find another one, which I did right away, and I painted her and made the box up for the sale as far as 3 or 4 frames of brood and food and all that stuff, and got her put back in, and I tried to do another one, but it was a massive amount of bees and it was getting later. It's like, okay, forget it. And now Lynn's talked about it. It's been dry here and was supposed to, and I think, of course, obviously that means there's less nectar flow because the plants are not pumping out any nectar. So
I heard a thing that if it rains, it's like 2 days after the rain before the nectar comes out.
Depends on the sun, Bob.
So last night it rained like hell, and then today the sun came out for a little while. So I don't know. They were not overly angry today, but
yeah, Brian says his bees have been cranky in drought conditions here in the past. I think that's what it is. It's gotten so dry that maybe that's why. It's not just me in my apiary. It's all over the different counties in this state and Pennsylvania too.
Well, I'm on vacation next week.
Which means work, right, with your bees.
It's fixing to get busy.
That's what Charlie and I are talking about. He's like, we're like, when you have no help, right, and it's just you, and you work a full-time job, and then you come home and you're trying to get nukes ready, nukes, sell honey, work your bees, make splits, graft queens, make sure nobody swarms, mix feed, go pick up sugar, paint boxes, build frames. Oh, we can't find frames, so now we got to try to find them on the internet. It's just constant. Oh, and then to add on top of that, oh yeah, you're running a swarm lure company, so you got to sell swarm lure. It's just like constant. And
that's why you haven't seen Bob live every night of the week here.
That's right. I've been busy.
And then you got to mow the yard.
And then I call Charlie and I'm like, I'm fussing. I called Mark Andrews and I was kind of venting to him, and I was like, man, because I like talking on the phone. I like talking to people. However, when I'm trying to get something done and I don't answer the phone, don't call me 5 times. I literally got called from somebody 5 times today. I'm like, dude, I don't have that much to say to you. I don't get it. I don't talk on the phone like that, It's and then it's like, hey, thinking about making a split. Okay.
Well, then go ahead and make one.
Make one, make 3, make 10, make as many as you want. It's fine. And it's like, well, would you recommend doing this or doing that? I'm like, well, this is how I do it, and not to mention, if you want to know how to do a split, every single YouTuber that does beekeeping videos probably has a video on making a split. You know what I mean? It's not a hard question to answer, but you want to talk to me for an hour about it.
Well, how I do I'm just trying to keep up with them swarming, right? And if you got a lot of colonies, you don't have time to go through and make 3s and 2s and all that. If they're getting ready to swarm, you got to get them broke down.
Right.
That's if not, you're going to lose half of them.
I did it with the nukes. My nukes. They've been in those pro nukes for 2 weeks, and all that brood was hatching out, right? So they're getting packed, and I'm like, I got to do something. So I took 2 frames out, put them in another nuke box with 3 blanks, and I left the queen and 3 frames and added 2 back to it. So it's still a strong nuke. And otherwise, I'm going to be fishing nukes out of trees, right? Not a good business operation there. So, it's just constant. I mean, that's why, I think on, 1-900 advice from Bob. That's it. $3.99 for the first minute, $1.99 after that. That's the thing is just trying to stay ahead, right? I mean, that's why when we were talking about early season swarms, I don't have them typically. It's because I stay ahead of them. I try to keep them weak in the beginning, so when it gets this time, this is when they're starting to get stronger, right? Because it doesn't do any good to have them really strong. And now I'm splitting them, and the honey flow is getting ready to start. Then you're losing out. So anyway, there's my rant.
It's a big push. I mean, like, I took these hives behind me here. I need to get a new picture. I want to get a new picture as soon as the weather is nice and I got some time to put in the background. But like I say, around the last of March, I switched them over to single brood and put the honey supers on and everything like that. And I've kind of checked them a little bit, and so hopefully, nobody has swarmed, and most of them have produced at least a nectar, 1 box full of nectar. And then the last week and a half or 2 weeks, it's been 8 boxes of bees going out the door. Doesn't sound like much, but I mean, I'm going out there like the day ahead of time. And what I do to make it easier on me is find the queen, the top box. I make it up the way I want to sell it. I put a queen excluder in between the 2 boxes. That way she's combined to the top box. So when I go back out there the next day at 6 p.m, when the customer shows up, I'm just pulling frames out, and last couple of them, it was hard to find the queens, and I would find them, and I'm like, okay, now let's take the time and when we find her to put the queen excluder in, we're going to mark her. And that's what I've been doing the last several boxes. And it just makes it so much nicer, because I like to be able to eyeball that queen when it goes into that cardboard transport box.
Right.
And, I know for sure the queen is there and stuff like that. So, but that's what I've been doing. And so once I get that done, I got 1 more box. I'll get that done next week, but hopefully maybe the weekend might have enough hours that I can kind of regroup in my nuke yard and look things over, and then try to get through my hives and give it a little more deeper inspection, so I don't have any swarms and stuff. Lee's checking out. He's got to go to bed. He's not feeling well, it seems like. I seen somewhere it said he was sick. I'm not
Yeah, he's
sure.
been sick.
With a head cold or something, or just sick. I thought when you're sick, you took off from work.
Well, he sits in a cab of a crane by himself all day, so and takes naps. So unless there's something that needs to be lifted, he's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Let me see. Blaine said his bees are in swarm mode now, and the flow hasn't even started. He'll be putting bees in shoe boxes soon. Let's see.
Where you at? I don't see that.
That just scrolled off the screen at the top a little bit.
We got somebody coming in here. Hey, there's Doug from up in Canada there.
Hi, Doug.
Yes.
Y'all thawing out up there?
From the almost straight white north. Yeah, spring has started here.
Good.
Have you gotten rid of some of your snow then?
Yeah, fields are bare. Still snow in the bush.
Okay. Well, that's good. And well, what do you guys what's your son and you doing with your bees? Now, I know you got 600 hives, something like that. Are you putting them out, or I know you
300 and 400? Yeah,
you put.
They were
I know you.
out.
Yeah,
I've been blowing snow.
Blowing snow like Ian does. Okay. I mean, I guess you're not unwrapping them yet or anything like that, have you?
No, well, Nathan's been putting in patties and strips for mites, but then rewrapping once that's done.
Okay. Kind of like what Ian does, as far as, I mean, he blowed his stuff out, and like you say, it's bare ground, and he had the one video out there where they were putting patties and I think my strips in, stuff like that. And same thing that you're doing. But now you're wrapping them. Are they still like what is it, groups of 3 that you're doing? 3 hives to share the heat?
Four to a pallet.
4 to a pallet. Okay, so you're in pallet.
Four
Four-way
double
pallet.
deeps.
Okay. 4-way pallets. Okay. All right, that's cool. Yeah, we're kind of thawing out here. Summer's kind of hitting here, at least for us. And I know Bob's been having warm weather for a month or more.
Yeah, we did have a cold snap in there though.
What's your weather like? Mark, is pretty nice out there in
Yeah,
Tennessee.
it's been pretty out here this week. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what it's been. It was up and down last week, and then this week it seemed like it leveled off and stayed warm. And then even we had warm nights, let's say 50, sometimes 70 degrees at night. Like right now, it's 9 o'clock at night, and it's 69 degrees, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's 67 here.
Yeah,
but we just had a little rain too, so
the queens are hatching out, and the crappie are back.
And they're what?
The crappie are biting, and the queens are hatching out.
Oh crap! Okay. The
That's a
fish.
good thing.
I'm not a fishing. So, but
hey Charlie, you should come down next month. James is going to come down for a day.
oh yeah,
Come down.
I might be able to see what's next month. May. Other than the 13th, I gotta go to West Virginia. Or that weekend.
I think that's like the same weekend, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, right? I think he's coming the 11th.
I won't be able to make that then.
Oh yeah, you got your concert.
No, it's called college graduation.
Oh, well, that'll be good.
My daughter's graduating, so got to go do that thing. So, anything else, Doug? Anything exciting in your area other than what you've been doing with your
What
bees?
about your machine? Did it come yet?
It's in customs here now. We just got notice that, so we're hoping in the next week or two it'll show up.
That's cool. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it'll
You
be
got to
a
mount that on
nice
a
thing
truck.
to have.
Are you mounting that on a truck like Ian does?
Yeah.
Is the truck 4-wheel
We have
drive
a
like he has?
cab over and a 5-ton and a little one in the back. No, just 2-wheel drive.
2-wheel drive. Yeah, I'm surprised what Ian does with those trucks. You know, here's a 1.5 feet of water out there. Well, I'm going to drive right out there, and I'm like, really? I wouldn't even think about doing that. You know, or go through the mud holes or the snow he does with that thing, and I'm like, you're going to get stuck. You know, I don't know. It just seems like to me, I think I would have an alternative like a skid steer in them situations.
I'm thinking about a school bus.
Yeah, Dan, she's out there at
Cool,
Morgantown at University of West Virginia.
What school bus? What you gonna do with the school bus?
Cut it down.
Hey,
Cut
Ted,
it down.
Into a flatbed? Just take the top off of it and
You leave some to put supplies and stuff in, and I could probably have enough to put my little tractor on there too, if I could figure out a way to get it up there.
I wish I could find an old, like one of those old flatbeds that they use for sod, right? They got the little lifter thing on the back. That would be, I don't know if it should lift enough weight to do a pallet of bee boxes, right? One of those sod lifters. What are they called, Charlie? You know what I'm talking about?
you talk about liftgate?
Yeah, they just go on the back.
Yeah. So no, it's a flatbed truck, but it's got a lift.
It's got a 3-wheel drive or a 3-wheel,
like a skid steer almost that goes right on the back.
Yeah, it's a forklift. I forget what the name of that thing is called. Yeah, you see them like on the back of a lumber truck or something like that. A Moffett. That's it, Jason.
A Moffett?
Yeah, it's the Moffett company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you have to have
School bus.
double axle. You have to have
Mark.
Huh? What's that, Doug? You have to have a two axle
school bus would work real good.
You've seen them, Doug?
I've seen a few fixed up, not for bees, but other things.
Yeah. Down here, they use them for watermelons. You know, they have them cut out and they just pitch the watermelons up in there and just stack them full. So I know they hold a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, you've went to school there too, I presume, spending money. I've seen them where they take school buses. I had a friend of mine, he took an old school bus and turned it into a camper, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen one where they put a 5th wheel on the back of it and cut it down, chopped it out, scribbled the S out, and it says cool bus.
A cool bus?
A cool bus.
Well, here you go. Here's one on the here's one in my town here. A 2004 International. There you go, short bus.
Yeah, that's about the right size.
They want $18,000 for it.
That's cheaper than a truck. And then you got storage in there too.
You could just make a mobile honey house.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to do all that, but you could store your honey supers in there.
What's it, a camper or what's it? What did they do to it?
This one here's got I don't know, it's got looks like a wheelchair access or something.
It's a wheelchair access.
Oh, convert it to an RV with a queen bed. So fun. It's got an American and Canadian flag on it. It needs new tires. Let's see how ghetto-tastic this bus is.
It would be easy to get in and out of.
So why are they selling it?
No idea.
What kind of motor?
It says diesel. It doesn't. 7.3 liter diesel.
That's a good diesel.
Got a fridge. Got a black water toilet with a shower or a sink sprayer there. Air conditioning. There you go.
Yeah, I don't want all that, Bob.
You'd be like the Partridge Family. Just paint some big different color flowers on it. Be good to go. Little hippie music.
Yep.
Well, if you're gonna do that, you can just do a hearse. Just cut the top off the hearse and use it like an old El Camino.
Yeah, but if I put honey on that, it'd be dragging the ground.
You'd be the only one with a Cadillac, a Cadillac hive mover.
Yeah, that'd give new meaning to the VSH Mafia, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah, Dan there said he said you probably need a CDL with a truck for a Moffitt because that's definitely a 10-wheeler truck you have to run that thing.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah, you've got that covered. I used to have it.
That ain't no problem.
I just thought about doing a little Isuzu MPR flatbed. You can get that for 12.
Yeah.
Something like this. Something like this.
I love that.
I don't know what this is.
But I ain't seen none for 12, though, that's any count.
Yeah, this one's 11.9. It's got 216,000 miles on it.
That's not bad. Is it a diesel? It should be. I don't think they make them gas.
Oh, they do make them.
Yeah.
This one don't say.
Most likely it's diesel. Yeah, Jason says you can buy from the transport companies. Well, that I know, like the local private school bus companies here, they can only run them, I think, 12 years. And they got to get rid of them.
Yeah, that would make a good little B truck. You just wouldn't be able to get in the mud with it. But
I was trying to. It doesn't say if it's diesel or not.
So anyway, that's what's happening here as far as I'm doing my stuff, as far as bee work and everything, which has been my lower back's giving me a problem here the last 2 or 3 weeks. Here lately, it's been really hurting. Been going to the chiropractor on that. Hopefully, he'll straighten me out.
called old age, Charlie.
I know. I've had lower back problems over the years, and I went to the gym a lot of time. I've figured out what to use at the gym to kind of solve a lot of those problems. But
Does it
here
seem to help?
Well, going to the gym, it immobilized my, like, used to have a lot of lumbar, a lot of L5, L4 problems that it would always popping out and whatever. And that seemed to go away since then. Now it's more of an SI joint type of thing. Russell wants to know, am I going to expand this year? No, I'm not. If anything, I might decrease to a certain extent.
That's kind of what I want to do, Charlie, but it ain't working out so well. How do you decrease?
I don't know. I'm a best.
Don't treat for mites, you'll decrease.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's how you do it. You don't treat for mites, you'll decrease, and then you have all the drawn comb you need, so you don't have drawn comb issues. So you actually get a higher yield on honey with less colonies.
But then you're right back up the next year if you got all that comb.
I don't know much about yoga.
That's the, and I'm doing just the opposite. I'm trying to grow, and every year I try to grow, it's like I end up coming out of winter with the same amount of colonies as the year before. So,
Yeah, Brian, I'm not going to have surgery. That's for darn sure. I've never seen any of that work when it comes to that type of stuff. But as far as my situation here, I normally were running, I got a dozen honey hives, and I've got I was up to 25 nukes, and I'm down to around 20 this past year. And then actually that's the thing. I have to have some nukes for my own self-sustainability. I had some queen issues last fall where I took my nukes and dropped them in and took care of the problem. Yoga for beekeepers, for new channel, Charlie's new channel. Yeah, right. You're going to see me doing that. But so it's like I still have to have some nukes for myself for sure. And but as far as selling, yeah, you make some quick money selling nukes. Yeah, bluegrass for Charlie. Yeah, I like my bluegrass. That's for sure. But I don't know. Just
well, I mean, there's definitely cost in it. I mean, even with nukes, right? So you got the box, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to build a box? That takes time and wood, right? So is that cheaper than buying a pro nuke? So you buy a pro nuke, that's $20, even if you're buying them at bulk, assuming you're not buying a pallet of them like James did. So that's $20. So if you sell the nuke for $200, so now you're only profiting $180, right? Then you got 5 frames in there, and as we've discovered that they're $3 to $4.50 a piece, right? $4. So now you got $20 in frames. So now you're down $40. So you're at $160 profit.
Well, the biggest thing is the darn cardboard boxes. They ain't cheap.
They're costing pro nukes do.
You got a $50 queen.
Yep.
So now you're down to what?
$90. 90 to 110, we'll say in that range, right?
So you made $100.
You made $100. So
what is this here? Hope says
get copper fit. That's that copper infused back support deal.
Okay.
So I mean, you got $100. So what I did is, I'm all about the flipping of the money, right? So I bought 3 frame packages, not nukes, not full nukes, 3 frame packages with a queen, 2 broods, and a food. Okay. I added 2 frames. So that was $100 a piece, right? Because I didn't use his boxes. I used my boxes. So I moved everything to my boxes. So they were $100 a piece. I sell them for $200. So I can make $80 per profit. Minus the frames. So that's $6. So we'll say instead of 85, we'll say since I use plastic frames, we'll say $79 profit. That cost me nothing by the time I pay for it.
Feed. You got to figure your feed in there because you're building them up.
So the feed that I've put on those is literally a 16-ounce soda bottle full of syrup. That's what I get.
And you ain't got a lot in that either.
So not much in that. But the thing is that I've had them long enough now that now I've split those colonies, right? So I had 20 and I've sold 7 of them. So that gave me 13. And now I'm back to 18. So I've actually got less in them, if that makes sense. So, and I didn't really use my own bees for that.
You're breaking even now on them, pretty much.
Yeah. So so I've got 2 going out in the morning and 3 going out on Tuesday. And I've already paid myself back for everything I've invested. But I still have, after those 5, I still have 13 nukes out there that are building, right? So I've actually grown my apiary with free bees, 13 new colonies. I've got all the money I invested back. I grew pro nukes because now those were paid for in the 200, right? So I'm up bees. So anything I sell at this point is profit. Plus now those 13, let them grow a few weeks, split them again, right? So I'm not even working now. Now the splits that I made early and the queens that I installed early to grow my apiary, I can just leave them go. I don't have to touch them as long as they don't have any queen problems or anything. So just taking the flip, making the flip. The beeconomics, the making money in beekeeping that was on Stream Team last night. It's was it free? No. Did I do it from nothing? No, I had to invest some money in it.
Yeah. But like I said before, you're playing the game and learning how to play the game all at the same time.
Yeah, so really? I didn't have to. If I bought 20, right? 20 of them cost me $2,000.
What's Brian talking about? The frames, $359.
In Minnesota at $359. Oh, they might be talking Colorado high
frame prices.
Must be frames.
Yeah,
must be frame prices.
I've been running my mouth, not paying attention. Well, last year I was buying those.
Oh yeah, he's going back gas.
I paid $1.45 a frame for the acorn frames, right? This year
Dan.
They're $3. They've over doubled. So it's like
yeah, it's like $359 here too. I don't know why.
Yeah, I wished I'd have bought 1,000 of them last year when they was cheap.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
I either have time and money or time. I either have time or money, but I very rarely have time and money,
I don't have either one.
My wife's going to bed. So you don't have either one?
My wife's got some money.
Well, who was it? Someone made a comment on here about Charlie having a sawmill. So wood isn't a problem. But wood is a problem because he works in the sawmill. Last thing he wants to do when he gets off is cut wood.
Yeah.
I buy my boxes.
So it's the and not only that, but just because you have a sawmill doesn't make that stuff free, right? And then not only you're getting raw lumber, so now you got to plane it and cut it and
it's got to be it's got to be dry.
You got to dry it, then you got to plane it and cut it to dimension, and then you got to assemble it. So
he has to work on next year's this year.
Right. So
I found it's just as easy to buy the stuff. I mean, it's just like Jason over at Bohemian Bees. He actually has a box cutting joint machine. We'll do all the joints at one thing. All you have to do is put one board in and go up and down. And he even found out with that machine that it's cheaper to buy the boxes and stuff.
Well, I mean, if you're going to build your own boxes, I don't even think I would just rabbit it. Right? Just rabbit it.
Well, did you see that video that Nathan from Duck River did about the different types of joints and stuff?
I did. Yeah.
I didn't see that video.
Yeah, they had
a 45-degree angle held up better than anything.
Yeah. The only thing is with that is trying to keep your box square. You have to have a jig to square it up.
It's got to be perfect.
But Comb a must. Yeah, we need the comb. That's where I'm at. That I've got boxes. I've got frames. I've got boxes with frames, and I've got boxes with drawn comb. But every one of my new colonies is drawing like the majority. The majority of the box, at least half the box, is being. They're having to draw it out in single deeps. So, just letting them grow. And my goal this year, if there's a goal, it was obviously growth, and that's happened. So now if I'm going to make honey, my goal is to make one super of honey from each one of those colonies. If I do that, I make 1,500 pounds, my best crop ever in my short beekeeping career, and they'll have their comb drawn. So that's where I'm at right now. So it's
we buy all our supers unassembled here and then assemble them ourselves. When
Well,
we
that's-
got
Yeah.
winter, it's a good
you
pastime.
got all winter to deal with it, right?
It's something
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Now, all right. What about frames? You and foundation? I'm sure you use plastic foundation, right? As far as in your wooden frames, Doug.
Yeah.
And do
The same outfit. We have a well, it was a family operation over in Manitoba. Same one Brad uses for his stuff. Same one Ian does, and they do all the wooden work for, I think, just about every beekeeper in the country here.
right?
Michael
So
says he has a hard time getting his bees on plastic. Mine don't have any problem on the plastic frame.
No problem here.
Not at all. It's the same foundation. So if you're buying Acorn Foundation or Peerco Foundation or Man Lake Foundation, there's no difference between that foundation and the plastic frame. It's the same foundation. It's just in a plastic frame. So I haven't had any problem. The only problem I have is sometimes they want to draw out little nubs, right, when you don't re-wax them. But what I noticed this year with the ones that I rolled the wax on is they're pulling them out beautiful. So, I mean, that's definitely the trick. I wish I would have learned that, took the advice last year, but I didn't. I was like, why would I buy wax on the frames if I got to wax them again? Well, waxing them again is definitely the trick to get them to pull them out.
You need a good flow to pull them out. We find once the dandelions start here, we'll get a lot of dandelions, we'll get a lot of wildflowers. They'll draw comb to beat heck for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then after that, it slows right down.
Well, 2 to 3 weeks is like 10% of your honey flow up there.
That's not into our flow yet. Our flow, like they'll draw them out in May here. Our flow will start about the first week of July. And the flow will go depending on the year.
First week of July, I'm harvesting honey. That's like July 4th weekend is like spin it out time.
We'll be about 2 weeks behind you.
When Doug, when they're pulling cone, that with the dandelions, do you get a lot of drawn cone pulled at that time of the year?
No, I wouldn't say a lot. No.
Okay.
No.
That tends to be my problem with early,
hey, Chris.
getting them to pull cone early. I get a lot of drawn cone.
Oh, yeah, no.
Today I actually took some 1-to-1 and just sprayed it on the foundation and dropped it in there, trying to get them to come up to get to it, because I dropped the queen excluder on. I don't know if it'll work or not. We'll see. Some people say spraying it on there helps.
We don't put a lot of foundation in for them to draw out at one time. Like our
Right.
honey supers are 9 frame, and we might put 2 in at the very most, usually just 1, and no problem with them drawing
If I
that
put
out.
2 in, Doug, that's all they would have, 2. They wouldn't have any more frames in the box. I don't have enough drawn. So That's
So when Doug, when you put that one frame of foundation in that honey super, do you have like Bob was talking about where they'll draw the ones that have already been drawn out fatter and that one there that doesn't have anything, they don't really do much with it? Have you
No,
had that
they'll pretty
problem?
well. If there's a good flow, they'll pretty well draw it out too.
Mm-hmm.
because I was
The
getting
only thing
some
I've,
last year
what
that were
about,
really fat, and then some that were really thin, where they were going over into the other bee space with it.
yeah. What about, I've tried 9 frame where I had all 9 frames drawn out really nice, and, even with the frame, but then they want to put that bridge comb in between the two things. How do you, I've often thought, well, maybe when you use one of them spacers for 9 frame, maybe the spaces need to be a little bit, you need to work it out over a period of time to where they get them draw it out. I don't know. Have you found anything? Or you just space them out? Or do you have spacers in your boxes already, or
No, we just eyeball it. And,
eyeball it?
we don't. We don't usually have too much problem with the rogue comb like that. They're pretty good.
Mm,
Well,
But
do you
we use
is that
we use
starting
a
with
cone.
foundation, or is that already you already drawn comb that you've got there?
Oh no, it's drawn comb.
Okay. What I found last year, Charlie, when I was going from 10 frames of foundation, I would put 10 frames in there, let them start drawing them out, and then I would pull one out and space them. And that way they were working on all of them at the same time and not doing, because if you start off with 9, then they've got more space to work with. But if you start them off evenly and then pull one away from them and space them, then they've got an even foundation they're working on. And that seemed to work pretty well doing it that way. But,
that uncapper you were looking at, if
Yes,
you
sir.
use it, you'll want 9 frame because
Oh, yeah.
it'll uncap them a lot better.
Well, I've got a tabletop steam uncapper, and you have to have fat foundation to do that with that as well. So, yeah, that's why I was doing 9s last year, and it worked pretty well after I got them started. But I just didn't have that many colonies producing honey last year, so this year is it's going to be a little bit different. I've got colonies at all different levels of the game right now.
Hey, James, good to see you in here tonight.
It's a money saver as well. Like we'll get as much honey from 9 frames as we would 10 in a box. So
Yeah, I'm fixing to cut out of here. I got a big day tomorrow.
All right, Mark.
Got to go to my mentor's house. He had surgery today, and the state apiarist is coming over there and get his hives inspected, and then he's coming to my yards. I got a big day tomorrow, and I got to make up some syrup before I go to bed. So
You actually have a mentor?
Yeah.
I thought you were the expert in your area.
He's the one got me started. He's on up in the years.
Hey, Nancy.
Still trying to keep bees.
his fault, eh?
See you, Lynn.
Yeah, that's what my mentor told me today. He says, I want to get you to where you don't have to work next year. This will be your last year working. I'm like, okay. I would love that, but I don't see it at this point.
Yeah.
Y'all take care. Good talking to y'all.
All right, Mark.
Doug, have a good one.
Yep.
Bob, Charlie, we'll see y'all later.
See you, Mark. Thanks for the video, the live.
Yes, sir.
Maybe James will jump in here and tell us his hijinks that he's been going through today.
And I want to do a big shout out to Nancy from Harleysville, PA. She had a birthday, I think, today.
That's what
At least I wrote on her
faces said.
That's what the Book of Faces said.
That is correct. So and I've been looking for warming cabinets too, Charlie.
Your local used refrigerator.
Yeah. I was looking at those they use them in salons for warming towels, but they don't get cool. They're too hot. They're like 145 degrees, and that's too hot. So I'm trying to find something that'll be warm enough, but without being another refrigerator that I have in my garage or in my porch.
Hey, Mike.
We use
I don't know. I mean, the only other thing I think of is like, I think it's DC has that.
Bee blanket.
No, he has that soda cabinet where you see them in the stores with a sliding
dry
glass.
cut got him. Dry cut.
Says a dry cut, has a sliding door, and he put in a set of light bulbs and a thermostat and everything in there. I guess is Cayman over with now. Everybody's coming in.
I don't know.
Hey, Grammy.
We've had
Lisa.
a bunch.
Yeah, we had. Well, you got 66. That's my normal thing.
we use a deep freeze, Aronco thermostat, light bulbs. Works good.
And the light bulbs get it warm enough in there?
Oh, you could bake in it.
Really?
Yep. I think I used 350 watt bulbs, and it's a big deep freeze. No problem at all.
I'm gonna have to buy something.
I put plastic supers over a queen excluder, and they've drawn them out. I didn't have to make it, where they put any brood or anything in them. You might put some brood up above that if you got.
I made the 3-6, the 2 10s over the 6 frame nukes today, and I put a frame of brood up in each one. I went back after like 30 minutes. Very few bees up there at all. They don't even care about that brood. I don't know if it was the queen excluder or what's keeping them down. But I even sprayed 1-to-1 on the frames, trying to get them to try to go up there to at least get the sugar water off of them, right? And no luck. I'll check them tomorrow to see if maybe
apartment size freezer would be a good warming cabinet.
Yeah,
depends on how big you want to get. I mean, in mine, I'm putting 3 buckets of honey in there to keep it.
Yeah, but you got the bottling tank, right? So as long as you can scoop it out of the buckets into the bottling tank, that'll warm it up enough to decrystallize it. It just takes a while.
Oh yeah.
My thing is, once I bottled it, if it starts crystallizing in the bottle, I don't have any way to, other than putting it in my chicken egg incubator, to decrystallize it.
Yeah, I was checking it. He said to use reptile heaters. I use a regular white light animal heat lamp with a Inkbird temperature gauge on it, thermostat, and it works fine with me.
I would like to build. I guess you could build one, but I don't know how insulated it would be to keep.
You have to insulate it. If you go to the beekeepers workshop, he shows you how to build one for a one bucket and all.
Always worried about fire with a wooden one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even one of those, I guess, I don't know if they call it a proofing cabinet or what, like from a restaurant surplus place. If you could rig that up with a light, it'd probably keep it warm enough too, right? Something like that. It's just it's crazy. When I started beekeeping, I would have never in my life, ever in a million years, thought the amount of money that I spent in beekeeping stuff, that you would have ever caught me doing that, right? Ever. Ever. What do you mean you got 30 grand invested in it, or 50 grand or whatever? It's like, it just kind of sneaks up on you.
Yeah. It's like Tom says, I use metal excluders too, and I've never used plastic, but I'm not
I've
sure
used
whether the
plastic.
bees like that plastic because the edges are like sharp, the ones that I've seen.
I've used
And
both of them, and other than knowing for a fact that I've put a queen in the bottom and putting the queen excluder on, and then going back a week later and finding her back in the super, and I shake her back down in the bottom and put the queen excluder back on, and where somehow she magically, the queen excluder isn't queen excluding. That's the only issue that I've had.
with the metal or the plastic?
The plastic one.
Yeah, well, that was something that Bob Benny also stated was he was measuring the distance, and they were off and everything.
And then this year I bought 20 from Man Lake. It's a gray colored plastic one, not that yellow one. And I don't know. I just put those on, so I don't know how they're going to work.
Yeah, Tom says the plastic ones are rough and square edged and stuff like that. Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I always buy metal. And I used to buy a lot of my queen excluders are wooden bound, but anymore, the last time I looked, prices for wooden bound excluders are like $30 some. And you'll find that there's a lot more burr comb with them because of the spacing.
Right.
And another thing is you can buy a metal one for, I'll say $20 or find them, actually, cheaper if they're used. And that's what I buy. Just buy the regular straight metal excluder. We've had a few people here in my area going,
well, hey, James, again.
hey, James, won't you come on, James, if you're not building frames right now?
Oh, he's been dealing with a bigger issue than frames. So it'll be interesting.
One thing nice about the metal, you can just throw them into a solar melter to get rid of the wax on them.
The only thing about the metal ones that I've had is when they propolize them down, it's like they'll bend.
Look at there.
Oh, you found some. I've called 3 different queen breeders for you, and nobody could help you. Well, you're on your phone, so come on in and tell us where you're driving to and what's going on, and more importantly, why you had to drive to get it.
Where was he getting his queens? Do you know, Bob?
I think he got the first set that he was getting were coming from Dancing Bee. And via Chile. So Chile to Dancing Bee to Alberta. And from what I gather is they got overnighted from Chile to Ontario to Dancing Bee. And then Dancing Bee, whoever shipped them regular freight via truck from Ontario to Alberta, which is quite a drive from what I get.
7 days, probably.
In the back of a non-climate controlled truck, right?
Yeah.
So the chances of those 100 queens actually being alive by the time they get there will be probably 0. So now, but the problem is that the splits and nukes have already been made up, right? Because the queens were supposed to be there. And so now he's had to try to track down 100 queens that he could go buy to put in his nukes, because he's got a bee supply store that's selling those nukes that is counting on them. So now it's a whole thing. So now that's what he's doing.
Robin,
I can tell the story.
We've used queens from Chile before, but they get flown into the Bee Made store which is Winnipeg. He has one of them in Alberta as well. I'm surprised he wouldn't go that route. Maybe they couldn't get him. I
He's
don't know.
not. James last year was not large enough to be part of Be Made, so I don't know if it's something that he could buy. I don't know. I don't know if he could buy them through Be Made or not.
Be Made is a co-op. You have to be a member.
Yeah, so
but you got to have, what is it, 5,000 pounds of honey or something like that?
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah, so he might get there this year, but he wasn't large enough last year. But he'll have the colonies this year.
Yeah, Robin Hood's using a torch on it. My concern about that is weakening the metal by heating it up like that. Last year, I didn't do it this year. Last year I wanted them clean. I used a heat gun.
Okay,
I scraped them down
I'm
really
doing the
good.
freezy thing again, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I heated it. He scraped them down good, and then I just there wasn't that much to them, and I heated them, and it melted. I just spot heated them where the crap was at.
Oh, he said he couldn't get them from Be Made. Be Made couldn't get them, he said. I thought about going to Cutix, buying the queens, making like a bulletproof vest out of queen cages, strapping it on, putting it under a hoodie, and driving them across the border. And I would just look like another fat guy from the U.S. going across the border. Of course, they'd probably be asking you, sir, what is all that chirping coming from your vest? All the queen piping coming from my hoodie.
You'd have to hum a tune as you come through.
Yeah. I'd be the first guy ever arrested in Canada for importing queen bees for beekeepers. I wonder what the fine would be.
Jail.
Jail time? Well, I mean, from what I gather, jail in Canada is not that bad, right?
No, it's just a holiday.
Just a holiday? 11-hour drive, but we'll have queens tomorrow morning.
Dancing Bee now is getting their queens from the Ukraine, I see right now.
Which is, you know what? That is so dumb. You can't get them from the States. Not that you could get them right now. I don't know, because everybody seems to be sold out. But if you can get them from Chile, that's in South America. Africanized bees supposedly came from South America, right? Mexico up to the United States, that type of thing. But that's the whole reason why you can't import them.
Well, I think Chile's isolated, eh?
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. But we can get queens from the States. We've bought from California before, but you have to be licensed to produce them down there for Canada.
There you go, Bob.
I don't know what the deal is with licensing, how you go about it or anything. But
see, I would get licensed and just produce queens just to go to Canada, because this is like perfect time. If I had the size of operation where I could just produce queens, this would be the time that I'd be sending them to Canada. You
would have a good business. We bought queens from the Ukraine last year. We had about 80, and they wintered really well.
James says he will never use Dancing Bee ever again. Well, that's a lot of money. If you think about it, 100 queens, nukes are going for what, 3 something up there?
Yep.
So that's 100 nukes at $300 and let's say $25. That's the $33,000, right?
Yep.
That
I don't think you won't see nukes at price all the time. They're high because of the big wintering losses last year. It was like our beekeepers up here took a real beating. So everybody was short bees. Prices have really gone up.
Well, don't you guys, do nukes yourself to, I mean, like Brad and them guys are doing them.
They got to do them after the solstice, because they don't have the drones early in the season.
Yeah, we do nukes too, but that's more or less for wintering to replace in the following year. But like right now, our hives, we could probably split just about every hive we have. They're really strong, but no queens, eh? That's the issue.
Yeah, and you can't, even if you grafted, you don't have the drones to mate them right now, right? So that's kind of the whole
No,
headache.
we're 3-4 weeks away before we'll do any grafting.
So yeah, it's and if you don't get a nuke early, then whatever nuke you do make, if you did, like right now, it would grow during the flow and everything, but it's not gonna. If you can't get them early, then you can't really replace unless you have nukes, like you said, from last year that you could replace for this year.
Yeah, but our strong hives, we could split right now if we had a queen. By the time the flow got here, they would be built up. That split would produce us 250, 300 pounds of honey.
James says he's got a plan for that next year. Hey, so you can't bring in queens, but can you bring in drones from the U.S.? We'll just make drone colonies.
What is it? Strachan's bees out of California. They supply queens up here.
I think Jose from Uribe Honeybees is working on it as well. Trying to get the documentation, but I don't know. I mean, I got the idea that you got to get documentation to prove that your genetic line doesn't have any Africanized traits in it. But I'm curious how they do genetic testing on queen bees.
I don't know.
245 US. Yeah, about the same, really, almost. Last year they were quite a bit higher, though. I think for nukes.
I've seen them up pushing. Some guys are trying to get around 400 up here, but I don't know whether they'll sell at that.
Yeah, I have drones, just not enough this year. You're gonna have 50 drone colonies next year.
Heater hives or whatever it was he was having.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'll say this. James has helped me out immensely resetting my apiary this year. And some of the stuff that he does for Canada is for anywhere really, but in Canada specifically, he's thinking outside of the box. Running the heater hives to produce drones early. Beautiful. CO2.
It's amazing the extra work that he has been doing or has to do because of the weather conditions, the short season, and everything else.
So I got the number of mites that James found in shaking his colonies. And if James says it's okay, I'll say the number, but he's probably got a video coming on it. But I will say the amount of mites that he found in his colonies is ridiculous. I mean, Charlie, lower than your number of mites. I'll say that. On 78 colonies. Or 75, I'm sorry. 75.
And he actually, I think he said he was going to test every one of them 100%.
He did. And unless he says it in the chat, I'm not going to say what the number was, but
I want to, Brian from Flower Street, he put a link in. Let's see, how can I pin that?
I don't see the link in the comment up there.
I can pin it.
And
replace pin message. No, I don't want to do that. Anyway, the link is about an article. How do we, if I put that in there. How do I bring that up, or how do you bring it up?
Which one?
It's Flower Street. It's got this link in there. Here it is, right at the bottom there. That one.
You just will click on it and it'll open up a new tab and it'll show the article and you can bring it up on the screen if you want to.
All right, I see that. All right, how do you bring the article up?
You just share your screen, and once you click the article, it should open another tab. Here, I can bring it up.
Oh, you bring it up.
No, you got to add it to the stream. There you go.
There's the article. AAA. That's our next feared mite that might be coming into this country. And there's a whole article about it. This is what Dr. Sammy Ramsey has been studying and trying to fight and all this kind of stuff.
What's it supposedly do?
It is like 100 times worse than the varroa mite. Number one, it does not hide underneath the brood. And we don't have any mite treatments that will kill that stuff right now. And all. It is bad stuff. So anybody interested, if you don't know nothing about AAA laps, it's from Taiwan, and Dr. Sammy Ramsey went over there and studied it here right before COVID hit. And he actually said that, how do we get rid of it now?
I can just stop sharing my screen.
All right. He said it'll spread, it's going to spread across the continent, or across, the world, I guess you would say. And there's Ian. Welcome, Ian.
You see that? James said 75 tests, one mite.
Ah, is that what he was talking about?
One mite out of 75 colonies.
What do you think there, Ian? Sounds like the cowboy was pretty good.
We should just call him the CO2 boy instead of cowboy. CO2 boy. So that's pretty. That's the only difference. What else has he done different as far as mite treatment as anybody else?
The only thing of it is you have to have a bee barn, and you have to have some place that's pretty much sealed up.
Right.
That's right there.
I would. That's the only thing I don't think he will admit that that's what it is, but that's the only thing I can figure that he's done differently than anybody else. And not only that, but he only had 1% colony loss.
Yeah.
Or we'll even say 2%. We'll give him 2%. But that's 23% less than the national average.
Yeah, Todd, what that was about was there's a guy here, actually, I can't remember his name. He's right here in Maryland at the Maryland Bee Lab, and he found that the drones actually had more mites on them than the worker bees, and that kind of a thing. I forget just how the study. It'll be coming out in the American Bee Journal, I think, next month, or maybe it's already came out. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, he CO2'd Mike.
our losses were 7.4 for the winter.
That's pretty good.
Which is good here.
And you stored them outside too, didn't you?
Yep.
That's amazing, that what 20, 30 below zero at least.
What does I guess that might say something too. What does the temperature do to varroa mite? The outside temperature, how does that affect?
Well, we hope our count is knocked right down because there's no brood here, so we can get a good kill on any varroa come fall.
Right.
So,
are you doing oxalic acid vapor in the wintertime?
We've used Apivar and the vapor both together.
That's
right.
what I do.
Yeah, because that's what I did. I had a 0.2 infestation through the National Honeybee Survey on mine. And anyway, but what I did was in my program is I did Formic Pro in August. It happened to be perfect weather as far as low humidity and below 80 degrees. A little bit below 80 degrees, not much. And like 78 degrees, something like that. I don't like anything above 80, and especially low humidity, even though the product doesn't state that. And then I did Apivar behind that for 6 weeks. And then that took me, I think, around the middle of October. Now for us, that's winter's coming down the pike pretty quick. And so November, December, January, I think even in early February, I did at least 1 or 2 treatments of oxalic acid vapor, which I don't, my hives, I'm not going to say that they're 100% broodless. They might be 95% broodless. And it worked for me. So that, and I think the testing was done end of October, 1st of November. It was the end of October and all. And so it definitely, my program is working. I find that you have to suppress the mites. I don't do any treating while honey supers are on, even though you can do certain things. I just leave, I let keep the honey completely, clean of any kind of chemicals or stuff.
Yeah.
That's my thing. And then as soon as the honey goes off, that's when I'm starting to treat again.
I know a couple of the commercial guys here last spring, they tested really low, no mites hardly. So they didn't treat, but the mites just exploded through the year. Come fall, their hives were too far gone to really recover. They treat in the fall, but they're the guys that lost 50-60% of their hives last year.
So they only treated in the fall?
Yeah.
They didn't treat in the springtime?
No, they had real low counts.
See, that's the thing. I watch Ian and the way he treats, and like you were saying, you were treating in the springtime. And because of where you're located and when your honey flow starts, you have that time, that early springtime, to do those things because of your environment and where you're located in the world. And it definitely works for you, and we're here. Yes, you could probably, if you put Apivar in, I'm going to say 4, you got to have at least a couple weeks after that before honey supers go on. Strips have to be going in no later than the 1st of February. If maybe a little bit sooner than that. And sometimes February is pretty darn cold around here. I mean, of course, not as cold as it is up where you all are at, but it's amazing how the bees fly in your area at temperatures that ours are like, we're not going outside at all. If it's 4 degrees Celsius, which is about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. They're like, we ain't going outside. It's got to be at least 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and all. But that's the main thing is you have to kind of figure out what.
You haven't been constipated for 6 months only. You'd go outside too.
Yeah, I guess so. I never thought about that. I guess so. Yeah. If you're able to fly, or, if you're in a bee barn or something like that. Yeah. It's like, hey, I got to go. I don't care how cold it is. I guess so. That is an interesting point. And all. Where ours is, that's the one thing about ours is they're outside all the time. And if you do get one of those flight days, in the middle of the winter out of, one day out of a month, let's say, that's a huge help. As far as bacteria and like nosema and stuff like that, you don't have quite the problems. That's like I've seen both Brad and Ian's videos where it's showing the mess on the front of the hives are horrendous. Some of those videos, I was like, man, I never seen nothing that bad. We look at ones where you might have a streak here, you might have 10 little streaks as they're coming out flying, and oh, that's terrible. Nothing compared to what I've seen on the videos.
Yeah, polka dot suits.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And I really never have seen, bees actually relieve themselves much until we had several years back, we had a snow where, we had a skip of snow. I'm talking maybe an inch on the ground, just enough to cover it, make it white. And then the next day the sun come out, and it was good. It was relatively nice flight weather. And they went out there and you could see the brown spots all over the snow and everything and all that. But Beaver Lodge next week, I guess that's some kind of a testing place for James
or for
Nosema. But yeah, and I always find that here's bees actually pooping, and I'm like, it's an insect, and you don't think about insects doing that. It's just something that you never think about, and all, but they do. So,
do you have trouble with skunks in your yards?
No, we don't have that much around at all. I would have more trouble with maybe a raccoon, but I don't even have that much situation.
I got raccoons, but I haven't ever had a problem with them at my hives.
No.
Raccoons, we've had trouble with them when we're feeding, but skunks, we'll take 25, 30 out of the yard every year.
Really? No, I don't know. It's like the fields behind me, we have either hay, which is all hay fields all around me. And then, in the back area is corn. And, I guess they're out there, eating between the deer and the raccoons and whatever. And, but skunks are not that prevalent in our area that much that I know of.
We got more possums and armadillos down here.
We don't have no armadillos. We might have a possum occasionally.
Well, when I moved here in the 80s, we didn't have armadillos either, and now we got them everywhere.
Yeah, we never used to have bears. We got bears now.
You got bears now?
We never used to have them. We got the odd one now. I think we did away with 3 so far.
Did away with what now, was it, Doug?
3 bears so far.
Okay.
We can legally shoot within a mile of our yard, and then we have to get a hold of the warden, and they come and pick them up.
Are they black bears?
Yeah.
But I don't have any bear in my area. A bear sighting would be highly, would make the news and all that. Now I don't. We don't have any bear fest. Now, if you get out into the mountain range area where we're out in Western Maryland, close to the Appalachian Mountains, they definitely have bears out there and all that, and had to put bear fences up. We don't have that. Nothing here like that. Haven't had any pests as far as any animals, like you say, a raccoon or a skunk or anything like that. So.
Let me see.
A 22 short fixes all the, yeah.
Well, it is after 10 there, Sir Charles. And
yeah, I think we're
I got
winding down here and my back's winding down. And it's basically frozen right now with an ice pack on it. So I think we're going to call it the evening for tonight. I got to get up and go to work tomorrow morning for a little while. Doug, it's good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Come on in anytime and all that. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and everybody's on the chat. Thanks for coming in and chatting with us. And we had over 60 people here while Cayman was on. And I'm glad to see that. We got our regulars and our dedicated followers.
And we'll be on my channel on Tuesday night. And right now we have a tentative guest of Andrew Munn from Apis Biologics. So will be hopefully a good show. So if you got questions about Apis, definitely come on and ask away. We'll try to get them answered.
Yeah, we'll do that. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt. And
Good night.